I'm Millie Weaver, and you are watching the Millennial Millie Show. Well, the satanic Hollywood elite is back at it again, just boisterously proclaiming their love for Satan and everything that is evil in front of Americans' faces. And most Americans just think of it as art. Well, why? Because they've been conditioned to do so. They've been conditioned to be gaslighted and to not believe what their own eyes show them. Well, that is the case with Little Nas. Those of you guys who know about Little Nas, remember he put out that Old Town Road music video where he's depicting himself as a cowboy, and I think a lot of Americans really liked the song. It was like a blend of rap and country music, and it featured Billy Ray Cyrus. Well, what do you know? Turns out Little Nas is very satanic. Actually, Little Nas came out with some Satan shoes that were exclusive. He was only going to make, he said, 666 of these Satan shoes. And apparently his Satan shoes contained a drop of real human blood in the sole of the shoe. Well, I guess Nike didn't green light that, supposedly, because now Nike is suing Little Nas and MSCHF, which is the production company that he works with. And so now Nike is, I guess, trying to virtue signal and moral signal that they have nothing to do with this. They are so virtuous and moral. They would never endorse 666 Satan shoes that Little Nas wanted to put out there. But see, Satanism is becoming normalized. Witchcraft, all of that evil, it's all becoming normalized because you see it over and over again in Hollywood videos. And then the mainstream media and all these left-wing elitists and establishment figures have the nerve to try to portray that these QAnon nut jobs out there somehow believe that the Hollywood satanic elite are blood drinkers and Satan worshipers. Gee, I can't ever imagine where anyone would get that idea. Couldn't it have been all the music videos of blood baths and satanic rituals over and over again ad nauseum that Hollywood puts out, could it? Couldn't have been all the satanic shows that they put out, which normalized and promoted cannibalism. Remember that show with Drew Barrymore? Yeah. So Nike somehow now, apparently is above satanic Nike shoes. However, what they're not above is sweatshops. Nike still has their sweatshops in China, and many of these sweatshops in China, not just Nike's sweatshop, they used forced slave labor from China's Uyghur ethnic minority group there, and these groups have been just relocated from their homes. Over 80,000 of them have been relocated and moved to Western China to be workers inside of these factories. The list of some of these factories includes Apple, Nike, Amazon, Samsung, Zara, H&M, Microsoft, Bill Gates, Mercedes-Benz, and Uniqlo. So that's just a couple of them to name a few, but Nike, too good for Satan shoes, but slave labor, they can't get enough of that. But we all know Hollywood is full of satanic occults. Look, I've had my days in Hollywood, and, I turned down the offer that many of these putrid, satanic Hollywood deletes, which I call them deletes because they've pretty much deleted their names from the book of life by choosing to sell their soul to Satan. But see, when I was faced with that, with real Hollywood producers who have big names, and they made those offers to me, my soul stirred and cried out. And even though at that moment in time in my past, when I was lost spiritually, I didn't really know if there was a God. I didn't have that faith at that time. I was questioning everything, right? I still, my soul instinctively knew with all the confusion and all the chaos, to just pray. I thought, you know what? I'm just going to pray, and I'm going to call out to God, and I'm going to ask him to reveal the lies and the web that had been weaved around me, and to just show me the truth, clear up the confusion, and show me if you are real, right? And lo and behold, all sorts of crazy events transpired. Miracles happened. People came to my aid and rescue, and I ended up having to flee Hollywood. Not after, trust me, a massive fight, okay, and gang stalking and harassment that ensued. But what I left with was my soul, because God had a bigger plan for me, okay? He had a bigger plan for me. And so when I look at these people like Lil Nas who fell into that, which I literally came so close to having that be my fate, right? My heart breaks for them. I feel really sad for them, but I also feel heartbroken for the American people who are being led astray. And, you know, one of the deceitful tricks that they use in Hollywood is like this Pied Piper technique, where they'll first put somebody out as someone somewhat wholesome, and they'll try to mirror a certain culture or a certain type of personality or people. And mirror means like just put on the same uniform, the same outfit, the same likeness, right? So you can gain rapport. And then once you've got rapport with them and you're hooked and you're watching them, that's when they take you down this really bad, dark path. And that's when many people follow them like lemmings off of a cliff. And they do it over and over again. They've done it with like Hannah Montana was a perfect example of that. So, you know, Lil Nas starts out as this look, he's like a black conservative. This is amazing, right? And this is a unity between, you know, black conservatives and look, the country type people. So I think a lot of people really like the song. I mean, it's got a catchy beats. Don't get me wrong. Hollywood knows how to make beats. They know how to make hypnotic sounds. They know how to get people captivated and interested. This song went mega viral, and it featured Billy Ray Cyrus, right? Who's this country rock star, right? But hey, we're all supposed to see Billy Ray Cyrus as like this country guy, which is funny. He's about as country as Lil Nas, okay? He's about as country as Lil Nas. And neither of them are country, okay? This is called mirroring. They're mirroring the country population because that's who they're targeting. Sorry, but country men, real upstanding country American men, they don't sell their daughters out like he did to Miley Cyrus for her to be, what, 1 minute she's Hannah Montana so that all these parents think that, okay, this is a good, virtuous show for my children to watch. Look at how wholesome and sweet. Disney, Hannah Montana, aw. Only then for, voila, you know, her to go down this extremely devious path to become ultra feminist, to shave her hair into little devil horns, to do all this vile, disgusting debauchery, you know, and just promote this weird, raunchy, sexual, exploitive style so that other little young girls, as soon as they reach like 18, 17, whatever, they start to emulate that. And how many young girls did she wrongfully take down the path of feminism, right? This hatred of men and this, look, I'm so liberated. I'm literally like doing what strippers do on a stage, and I am so empowered, right? Yeah, I'm sorry. Country daddies, they don't do that. They don't sell their daughters out like that. It isn't, you know, everything isn't what you think it is in Hollywood. It's not what it is perceived to be. There's a lot of acting, there's a lot of fakery, and they know how to portray middle America so that middle America follows them, buys their stuff, supports them. It's to capture the hearts and the minds and the souls of middle America's children and lead them into this debaucherous, satanic lifestyle. Just like Billie Eilish. I mean, she's all the craze. Billie Eilish with her little disgusting satanic songs. And look, this is the crazy part, okay? I sound like some person, the people you'd see on the side of the road, like Satanism, like foosball's the devil from that Adam Sandler movie, that crazy lady that just says everything's the devil. I sound like that, but here's the problem. And I know this, and that's why I'm kind of laughing in my head. But it's true. Like, it is true, okay? I'm not just making this up. If you don't believe me, I'm just going to have to show you for yourself. 1 minute Lil Nas is this country bumpkin. Next minute, this is what he's promoting to his followers. Look at this video. I'm going to turn the music off. I don't want to get a copyright strike. But look at this. I mean, he's literally like twerking and seducing Satan in his music video in some weird satanic homosexual ritual. Okay, this is disgusting. I'm gonna turn it off because it is disgusting. But I'm telling you, this is satanic, and there's no way around that. Now, some people could say, okay, maybe they're LARPing. Sorry, but Hollywood has been doing satanic rituals inside their music videos, inside their movies, their art, whatever, ad nauseum, for much longer than LARPing existed. Okay, it is not LARPing, it is satanic ritual. Same with Billie Eilish or whatever her name is. Constant symbolism of this fallen angel type personality that they try to portray, like the fallen angels from Lucifer. It's because these people are followers of Lucifer and Satan. I mean, the name of her video is All Good Girls Go to Hell. That's the name of her video. And this is not the first time. Do you remember when Miley Cyrus promoted her Can't Be Tamed music video, when she went from innocent, sweet Hannah Montana to satanic child of the devil? It's crazy. This is what they are doing. So then, like, I think it's funny that you have all these NPCs, especially on the mainstream media or these late night shows, that are like, all these conspiracy theorists think that Hollywood are a bunch of satanic elites. That could never be true. Oh, okay, yeah. Thanks for the gaslighting. Like, it's not like you guys don't do satanic rituals during the Super Bowl in all your videos. I mean, give me a break. Give me a freaking break. So anyway, I like to support musicians, and there are many musicians out there in like the MAGA movement that are just people who are doing music on their own. They're not being pushed and promoted by Hollywood and by Vivo and all these other big labels and these big distribution companies that are, controlled by the establishment. I like to support other musicians out there that are not. And one of those musicians is my sister. Now, my sister, Minna, she actually she has a beautiful voice, and she wants to release songs that are wholesome and have good messages in them. And so she actually just released a new song called Military Wife, and it's dedicated to the many women out there who suffer or, deal with having their loved ones go to fight in wars, and the impacts of that on themselves and their families. And it's honoring the troops, and it's honoring the women who are there for their men that are going off to war to fight for our rights and defend America. So I'm going to play this music video that it's a lyric video that she put out. And then after that, we're going to come back and talk about more news. I've got a ton of news to show you guys, but it's a very, very beautiful song. So enjoy. I hope you guys like it.
Geared up and ready for takeoff.
For
All right, so that's a beautiful message, a wonderful song for military wives out there and those families that are affected by the men who and women who have to go off to war. Those who, it makes me think about those who were drafted, like in Vietnam or drafted in World War II, and it just is a wonderful tribute to those women who were loyal and um, loved their husbands dearly. So, all right, so I'm going to go on to some news. So if you guys want to find out and watch more of her music videos and stuff, you can go to her YouTube channel. She just started on there, Minna Valentine on YouTube. So that's where you guys can find her if you want to find more of her music. Now, let's get to this trend of Asian hate, so to speak, that's been going around. And at first we saw these congressional hearings on Asian hate, and it was right after the supposed shooting that was targeting Asians at these massage parlors, these like kind of speculated rub and tugs, okay, by a guy who was a sex addict. And so I was a little bit confused, like, are you guys trying to say that this guy was targeting them because it was Asian hate? I don't know if necessarily that's what they're trying to say. I know right after the shooting, they were trying to kind of paint that the shooting was an attack on Asians, but it might be because of the many attacks out there that have been on Asians that they jumped to that conclusion so quickly to think that was the case, when the many instances of Asian violence out there that we're seeing are just horrible. So I've been kind of looking and researching all of the Asian violence out there, but you would be surprised. The majority of the cases out there of Asian violence is actually Black on Asian violence. And there seems to be some kind of a rift or an issue of some sort that's been going on between the Black community and the Asian community. I'm not so sure if it has to do with COVID-19, which I want to get your guys' take on this, because after I get through a lot of this news, I'm going to be going into an extended show today. So I'm going to do about like an hour of news, and then after that, I'm going to do about an hour of callers. And at that point, I kind of want to get your guys' take on some of these stories, because I've been really trying to figure out, why are we seeing this massive uptick in Black on Asian violence? So I'll show you some of these that have been happening, and people have been videotaping it on social media. This one happened on a subway where a man was beaten until he was unconscious. Very scary situation. Show you right here. You can hear towards the end of the video that someone says that the man said the N-word, but you can't actually hear him say it in the video. So that might be the reason that sparked this assault. Which violence is never the answer. It doesn't matter what anyone says to you. You don't violently attack someone. So the man was then rendered unconscious on this subway, and the guy walks off the subway. And look at, the most concerning thing to me about watching these videos is how many bad Samaritans are literally standing around and they just don't intervene. I mean, they literally are watching somebody get beaten until they are unconscious, and they're not intervening. That to me is worrisome. And there are a lot of men standing around as well. Like, I get women or old people that are more hesitant because this is some big guy that's much bigger than you. But, with how many men were standing in there, you would think that someone would be a good Samaritan and intervene. But no, you don't see that. And that's kind of, I think, an issue in our society as a whole, where you see so many instances of violence and people just stand around gawking. It's disturbing. Oop. Okay, so not sure why this is playing. Hold on. Okay, so I'm muting that while that's playing. All right, so it looks like employees were suspended after not helping an Asian woman that was attacked in New York City. She was just simply walking on a street when all of a sudden a man approached her and just decided to start beating the heck out of her. Very sad situation. And there were there were several of these employees inside of this store, and they're just standing there watching, once again being gawkers. Like, what is wrong with these people? You're just gonna stand there and watch a girl get beaten? This was a 65-year-old Asian woman, apparently, that was beaten. And it's very graphic. Viewer discretion be advised, okay? I'm going to play the video, though. Look at this. She's walking, and then here comes this guy, just kicks her to the ground, starts stomping her head. Oh, my God. And this guy's just standing here. Right? Disturbing. Look at these guys. They're literally just watching it happen. And you think he's going to go out there to intervene? Nope. He goes to try to shut the door. What a disgrace. This is the suspect that they're looking for that beat this woman. Right here. Okay? And so it's appalling, one, that this guy would just randomly attack this poor Asian woman. But two, that these other people are standing around just watching and doing nothing. And you think he's going to go help, and he just tries to close the door. Yeah, very sad. And apparently these employees were actually security. So not really doing your job as security when, you know, people right outside your door are getting beaten half to death and you do nothing about it. So I guess they were terminated because they didn't do anything. And you know, right on their employer for doing that. Wouldn't want to hire someone for security if they're one to feign away when it comes to protecting an innocent person from being beaten. Okay, another instance of Asian violence and attack happened. This left a man, I think this is the same story, where he was beaten unconscious on a subway train. We saw that one. This one was when an Asian woman was punched in the face on a subway and called anti-Asian slurs.
American community is being investigated by the NYPD. Police say yesterday this man approached a woman inside the 51st Street Lexington Avenue subway station, struck her in the face with his hand, and made derogatory comments while telling her to go back to her country. This happened around 8:45 last night. According to investigators, the woman was not seriously hurt. After this latest attack, another rally against anti-Asian violence. This one was at McNeil Park in College Point. A running theme at today's rally, community and solidarity.
We have to stand together as a borough. It is totally unacceptable what we're seeing.
It's got to stop. We're all neighbors. We've been neighbors for a long, long time. Everybody's chipping in to help make the community a much stronger place.
And after observing a moment of silence there, the group tossed flowers into the water in memory of victims of hate crimes.
So I guess the real question is, what is prompting this escalation in violence between the Black community and the Asian community? Because there's this trend that cannot be ignored where you're seeing all of this anti-Asian violence being directed at Asian Americans, predominantly from the Black American communities. And so I'm just sitting here trying to figure this out. And I hope that maybe you guys will call in on the show if you guys have any answers to why this might be happening. I thought, okay, maybe coronavirus is playing in, right? China's kind of been blamed for the release of the coronavirus. And then the Black communities are being told that they are the ones mostly being impacted by the coronavirus. So there's that aspect that might be playing a role in it. Maybe the fact that there have been a lot of pro-MAGA, pro-Trump Asian Americans out there. Maybe that could be it. It could be something along those lines. I mean, maybe it could be because of the tribalism that's being promoted through studies such as critical race theory. All of these ideas of tribalism have been being promoted, especially that with this like tier system that they try to promote in critical race theory, where like based on your skin color you have different privileges. But it is pretty bizarre to see this happening. This was another instance where a woman was harassed inside of a restaurant by a man who was cussing at her and berating her. Luckily, in this instance, the restaurant owners intervened.
The contents of this cell phone video, too shocking and explicit to play in its entirety. But the person recording, Hong Lee, captured a terrifying encounter with a customer inside El Torino's restaurant last Monday. She stopped in to grab lunch when she says this patron asked her to dine with him. She politely declined and couldn't believe what happened next. A barrage of verbal attacks, both racial and sexual.
I'm sorry, can you help me?
Yeah, help
He's getting
her.
very,
Help her
very
go back
abusive
to
now.
Asia.
We were all just shocked that this was happening. And so I was just reaching out for help. And so my instinct was to ask for help from the people around me. Tanya!
Lee, who was inside the restaurant by herself and too afraid to leave, called a friend on the phone, sobbing in disbelief. You hear either a customer or an employee in the background trying to de-escalate the situation, but things got even worse.
My name is Frederick Douglass Smith.
Lee said this customer starts approaching her again in a violent manner, blurting out not just a name, but what he said was his social.
Okay, so you get the point, all right? There have been all of these escalations in racial tensions, okay? And I think that it's pretty fair to say and safe to say that it is possible for minorities to be racist against each other, okay? You see the instance where supposedly the Asian man said the N-word to the black man on the subway, and then the black man beat him up, and all these other people stood around, did nothing. I mean, the number one thing that bothers me are all the gawkers, really, because it's like, come on, people. Really? But you also see the black man calling the Asian woman Asian slurs and beating them. And so this idea that the leftists try to promote, that it's not possible for minorities to exercise racism or be racist, is complete baloney. And I wouldn't even say it's necessarily racism, because racism is kind of this like belief that your race is better than other races, which maybe a little bit could be in play there, but I think it's more like tribalism. And I think that groups are sticking more to just each other because of all of the racial tensions and racial hate that's being spread out there. They are trying, the mainstream media, Hollywood, all of it, by putting out this stuff and drudging up all these tensions and hate, they're actually worsening racial tensions in America. I feel like a lot of it is they're doing when they try to push these ideas of white supremacy and all this race stuff. It starts to internalize race into people, and all they start to look at is race, right? So then they become racists because all they're looking at is race, and they're judging everyone by race instead of their character. When Martin Luther King had it right from the beginning, judge somebody based on the content of their character, not the color of their skin. If we go back to that, this will just dissipate, okay? But when we have the left saying, no, we need to look at everything in terms of race, we need to examine it all with a microscope, and we need to point out all each other's differences and put people on tiers and categorize people and create racial hierarchies, then you start to see issues happen, okay? This is the unintentional byproduct of these leftist teachings like critical race theory. Turns out Asian American students have actually been made into a target because of critical race theory in their high schools. So critical race theory, which, like I said, teaches that racial hierarchy, it really doesn't put Asians in a very good spot on their little totem pole or tier system. They pretty much paint Asians in the same group as white people, which, you know, white people are getting the really bad shake of the stick. But in this instance, the Asians actually are kind of a minority, right? And so the Asian kids now have these big targets on their backs. They're being perceived and seen as privileged, and it's continuing to create these tensions between Black and Asians. And I think that might be part of the reason why we're seeing the tensions. Like I said, I don't know the exact reasons at the end of the day, and I hope to hear your guys' opinions of this. Asian Americans tend to do very well in the education system, despite the fact that they're minorities, and they kind of destroy some of the narratives that these leftists like to paint, that minority groups, because of being minorities, are inherently destined to have a bad fate in the education system. No, because of the strong work ethic values in traditional Asian parent households, Asian families tend to actually do very well in the school system because of the values that are instilled in them and the merit-based system that their parents tend to teach them with. That you are to bring honor to your family. You are to work hard. You are to be only praised when you have accomplished good goals. Like, these are things that they value, and so they are breaking all of these misconceptions, I guess, that the left wing has, and destroying the critical race theories that they supposedly have. And that's why they're having to lump the Asian Americans into the white privilege category, because it doesn't fit with their narrative. Okay, so now let's go to this other story. This story is in a Victorian school out of Australia, and these boys were actually being made to apologize for the rapes of other men in the past. Like, what? This is insane. And it kind of goes along with critical race theory, which is when you have to apologize for the color of your skin, right? But now they're saying, no, you have to apologize for your gender and apologize for the crimes of those of your gender. So this is all backwards. This is clown world. It's like, I thought we weren't supposed to have to carry the weight of the sins of our fathers, right? Nope. Carry the weight of the sins of anyone with the same color as you, anyone with the same gender as you, anyone with anything, right? This is insane. All right, so I'm going to show you guys this little clip right here, just so you can see.
Southwest Victoria, boys were forced to stand up in assembly and apologise to female classmates, just, generically. This is in Warrnambool at Brower College. They apologised to girls right across the board, they say, for offensive behaviour on behalf of the male gender. Now, the principal, I'm told, Prue, has now apologised for the apology, but what were they thinking?
Absolutely. They're saying it was symbolism that they were getting them to do this. What about respect for these young boys? Not every man is like the vile blokes that we've been seeing over the last, period of time, exhibiting themselves in Parliament House. I would say that really most Australian men respect women. There is a culture sometimes where, let's have a go, mate, all of this. But, generally it's up to the women and the home to make sure you instill that respect in both their daughters and the sons. And I found it was really offensive, and I'm glad that the parents really had a go at the principal and the school for doing this. These poor young boys who do understand about consent, I mean, they're doing it right through the schools now. And I think it also has to happen at home. We need to have kids sitting at the dinner table with the family, and respect is shown by how the parents interact and how you treat your children. And I think it's really appalling that these boys were singled out and made to feel so bad.
Prue, you are spot on, and I won't sort of name anybody, but
Okay, so apparently if you hug grandma after the lockdown. You might cause another pandemic. That's what virology experts are saying. They're saying that you could cause a mutation in the virus, and therefore you could render these vaccines useless, and therefore no hugging of grandma. I mean, come on, this is insane. They want us to just be locked down forever. It's like once you give up your freedoms, it's going to be really hard to get them back. Well, Tucker Carlson spoke out yesterday on Fox and Friends about the vaccine passports, and he pretty much calls out the supposed defenders of the Constitution for not defending the rights of American citizens. Let's hear what he says.
I'm sorry, you're not allowed. In this country, because of HIPAA laws, you're not allowed to know if your kids have a sex change. I mean, and now your private info, whether you're vaccinated or not, is that information will be in the hands of the tech companies, and that will determine whether you can participate in American life. Look, if you're trying to calm people down about the idea of vaccines and make them less vaccine hesitant and make them, convince them that it's not a conspiracy run by Bill Gates, a conspiracy theory, then you wouldn't even consider doing something like this. I mean, the amount of paranoia and fear and distrust and social division that this kind of policy will engender is impossible to calculate. If you wanted to divide American society even further, you would go ahead and do something Orwellian like this. Of course, they don't care, but where are the defenders of, I don't know, the American way in Washington? I mean, they really should be outraged by this, in my opinion.
All right. And speaking of opinion, that's something that we're going to hear a lot more of. And if you moved your head a little bit, we could actually see this.
Okay, so there you have it. Tucker Carlson, good on him for actually calling that out. Well, there were some representatives, one of which is Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene. She did call out this vaccine passport ridiculousness. She actually calls it, almost refers to it as the mark of the beast. So let's hear what she says.
They want you to be required to have something called a COVID passport, and this would mandate your ability to be able to travel, your ability to be able to go to events, your ability to be able to buy and sell. And I asked the question earlier today, is this something like Biden's mark of the beast? Because that is really disturbing and not good. Oh, if you're going to come into the football game or the baseball game or the concert, you need your vaccine passport because we're trying to do a good job to keep everyone safe. This is what the Biden administration is trying to talk to these private companies into doing. Well, let's analyze that. You see, it's still the same thing. It's still fascism or communism, whatever you want to call it, but it's coming from private companies. So I have a term for that. I call it corporate communism. They want you to be required to have something called a COVID passport, and this would mandate your ability to be able to travel.
Okay, so she spoke out against the COVID vaccine passport, and I'm telling you, I've been talking about these COVID vaccines for like a year now. This is something that is definitely coming around the corner. And apparently, Governor Ron DeSantis, he's been firing back after against the Biden administration for pushing these COVID vaccines passports, and he's trying to make it so that there will not be COVID vaccine passports in Florida. But what's a little bit concerning is that this news report, they're trying to act like he won't be able to do that, like as though he doesn't have the right to do that. This is going to be a universal system that they're going to be creating for this vaccine passport, and it is a global agenda at the end of the day. So I guess maybe that's what they're hearkening to when they're talking about, oh, he's not going to be able to stop it. Because here's an interesting article here at Zero Hedge. 24 world leaders call for more globalism in wake of the pandemic. 24 leaders, they've signed this letter, and it's essentially like a treaty. And UK Prime Minister Boris Johnson, German Chancellor Angela Merkel, and French President Emmanuel Macron are some of the leading figures behind this. There are 21 other heads of the state that have signed this letter. They're just trying to get rid of nationalism and individual sovereign rights for different nations. They're saying nobody is safe until everyone is safe, right? We need a global community. We need to implement globalism in order to prevent further pandemics. They say at a time when COVID-19 has exploited our weaknesses and divisions, we must seize this opportunity, come together as a global community for peaceful cooperation that extends beyond this crisis, the letter states. Building our capacities and systems to do this will take time and require a sustained political, financial, and societal commitment for many years to come. So yeah, they all plan to come together and sign this. The letter compares the situation to the aftermath of the Second World War and urges the end of isolationism and nationalism. Yeah, they don't want nationalism. And it's sad, Boris Johnson, sell out. Angela Merkel, we already knew she was. And same with Macron. But this is why they needed to get rid of President Trump. This is exactly why they needed to get rid of Trump. He would never have gone along with this. Not in a million years, okay? The letter specifically calls for a global treaty on pandemics to be signed to establish international rules and norms for vaccine production and distribution, as well as coordination on alert systems, data sharing, and research. So yeah, basically they're trying to create this and look, immunization is a global public good, and we need to be able to develop, manufacture, and deploy vaccines as quickly as possible. This is why the Access to COVID-19 Tools Accelerator was set up in order to promote equal access to tests, treatments, and vaccines, and support health systems across the globe. So yeah, the Biden administration has been talking about a universal passport system, and he's been working with all these other private entities to create a system that is all merged using all of these different private entities that have been creating this data collection software that will manage the COVID-19 vaccine passports. He has been doing this because this is part of a global agenda. Okay, it's a global agenda that they have been planning for a long time to get us all on a global governance, global system. They want global identifications. Nothing new here, right? Nothing new here. It almost makes you wonder if the coronavirus was like the Hegelian dialectic problem, reaction, solution, right? Makes you wonder. All right, let's just watch this news clip where they talk about how Governor Ron DeSantis out of Florida is fighting back, and just the weirdness behind the people saying that he's not going to be able to stop it.
Is firing back against talks from the Biden administration about vaccine passports. The universal system would be for people who prove they've been vaccinated against COVID-19 and serve as their pass to enter businesses, restaurants, and even sports arenas. Wait News health and medical reporter Veronica Marshall joins us. And Veronica, the governor is even calling for legislation to stop the passports.
The governor said it'd be unprecedented and an overreach for both public and private entities.
No passports, no mandates.
But Governor Ron DeSantis may not be able to stop vaccine passports from coming to Florida.
It's completely unacceptable for either the government or the private sector to impose upon you the requirement that you show proof of vaccine to just simply be able to participate in normal society.
USF Health Dr. Michael Tang says U.S. airlines and travelers may have no choice but to comply.
If it's required for travel to Europe, if it's required for travel to Asia, we're going to have some sort of vaccine passport from the United States that will allow us to travel into those places.
FGCU international business expert Jace Ramsey says embracing vaccine passports could also help slow the transmission of the virus in communities like ours.
But as soon as we open the doors to foreigners, especially in South Florida, we want to be sure that people that come here are safe.
If you're in a place where everyone has been vaccinated, you're clearing a somewhat safer position than people who are of unknown status who are not vaccinated.
But experts say when it comes down to it, you will have a choice.
It's kind of like a driver's license. Not everybody has a driver's license. If you don't have a driver's license, you just can't drive. That's it. That's fine. and you can choose to ride the bus or walk or ride a bike.
We've heard from the experts, and now we want to hear from you. We asked this question on our Wink News Facebook page about whether you would accept local or international vaccine passports. So far, hundreds of comments, most of them not in favor of the idea of vaccine passports. And it's not too late to have your voice heard. Find this post on our Wink News Facebook page and join the conversation.
All right, so yeah, there you have it. COVID-19 vaccines, which I've been telling you guys was coming for a very long time now. I've been saying this for over a year, and I wanted to show you this video with me and Tori in it. And I'll show you where I was talking about it. Now, I might not have necessarily been saying vaccine passport per se, but I was talking about virtually the same thing. ID systems that have your vaccine information on it, and you have to utilize and use it to get in on airplanes, to restaurants, all of that stuff. And it was more like with the biometric systems, because they're already implementing with ID 2020 and ID Africa. So here you go. We're talking about a global initiative, which is the ID 2020 initiative. Mm-hmm. And when we're talking about these other countries even initiating their own real ID system at the same time, that's all part of this initiative, let's look at the broader perspective here, because it seems normal and fine right now, and it's not too much different than your typical ID, but where it's going to go and where it's going to lead to is actually going to be the key here. And that is, we should look at what is happening with ID for Africa 2020, okay? They've got requirements there in Africa that you have to show a vaccination certificate against yellow fever to leave or enter the country now. And this is going to be verified through e-document linked to the bearer's biometrics. So because I guess yellow fever is an issue in Africa.
I've got vaccinated.
Okay.
Thank you, U.S. Navy.
Yeah, yellow fever is an issue in Africa. So people that live there now have to take a certificate that proves that they were vaccinated against yellow fever when they go to get their identification to verify it. They then include that e-document in their real ID biometrics so that that can be tracked and related to. And so I'm wondering, okay, so that's a fever, right? That's a pathogen that they're worried about and that you have to be vaccinated against, and they use your ID to track that.
Is yellow fever racist?
Right.
I'm just thinking because it's yellow, so it's a color.
Right.
Or
So how does that then play in with coronavirus here, where there's all this paranoia about the virus, right? They're working towards a vaccine. We now have these testing centers where they're going to be set up outside of Walmarts and CVS, where people are going to have to go up and give their biological
swab
specimens over
23andMe,
to the government
Google,
as to whether they have contracted the virus or not. At what point is it going to be that in order to even go to the store or access certain public settings around the public and not this social distancing quarantine stuff, at what point are you going to have to prove that you've either already had the coronavirus or that you've been vaccinated against this new coronavirus strain? And how would they verify that? Well, they would verify it with an e-document attached to your biometrics, attached to your real ID, which there's a deadline by October 1st, 2020, that everyone's going to be on this new real ID.
Apparently, with your regular driver's license, you won't be able to get on a plane, so you need real ID. But if you have a passport, you're good. So I think that is the loop around. But speaking of e-verifying viruses, well, first of all, let's just call out, we've got, yellow fever, right? We had Zika virus, and then we had West Nile virus. That has to be racist too. I mean, the Egyptians should be real angry.
Oh, and another
they're pissed with the Kung Fu flu, right?
Is that you have to have the real ID to be able to fly.
Well,
that's one of the things they're
domestically. You need a passport to go internationally. But yeah, that's why, your driver's license won't help. But with the e-certification, this.
Okay, so there you have it. You essentially have to have a COVID-19 vaccine passport of some sort or ID of some sort. And this is something I was talking about over a year ago. This was on March 22nd of 2020. And what's interesting is Trump actually, before the election, he actually postponed the deadline requirement for real ID. He just was like, nope, we're not meeting that. He did an executive order. So I actually did a follow-up report later after this video, and I let people know, yay, Trump has postponed the deadline for Real ID 2020. So Trump actually kind of, put a kibosh on that and made it harder for them to try to implement a Real ID essentially across the entire country. But that's not to say that they won't try to later roll that out again. He just put it off and postponed it. Who knows if they're going to try to pick it back up again and use that to implement the vaccine passports, so to speak. Not really sure exactly how they're going to do it. I mean, if you noticed in that video report, you had a girl holding up a phone with a QR code. So the question is, how exactly are they going to try to roll this out and implement this? But notice how spot on I was when I said, watch when will you end up having to need this vaccine ID to get into a restaurant or a ball game or a park or even to fly in an airplane. So I was on it a year ago. So yeah, and now everyone's talking about these vaccine passports to where even the Biden administration has come out with it when this is something that they were planning all along. Okay, this is part of their globalist agenda. That's what they wanted to do. All right, so we have reached the first hour of the show. Now I'm going to actually go into overdrive. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to play the little call-in number. And then I'm going to play a cool little promo video. And then after the promo video ends, the feeds on YouTube, Periscope, and Facebook are going to end. But the stream is actually going to continue on my Twitch account. So Millennial Millie on Twitch. You guys can go watch the streaming, the video for free, the live stream for free on Twitch. You don't necessarily have to subscribe, although I really do appreciate your guys' subscriptions, your support. It really helps me to be able to do the work I'm doing and to grow and expand. Independent journalism requires the help from the people and the support from the listeners themselves. If I can't get you guys to support me, it's not going to make it so I can continue to do this work. So I do need your guys' support. Your subscriptions, they really make a difference. They really help me a lot. So that's something you guys could look into doing. I know oftentimes you might want to check on Twitch. People gift subscriptions, so you could even get the first month free. And I do my show Monday through Friday, so check it out. Maybe somebody had gifted some subs in there. I'm pretty sure the last time I checked, there were some gifted subs. And if that's something you guys also want to do, and help gift some subs so that you guys can help spread the show and the information that I put out there, so more of your friends and family can be in touch with it, that's wonderful as well. I appreciate that kind of support. All right, so let's go to the video of the call-in number. Actually, yeah, I'm gonna do part of the video, and then I'm gonna just go to the promo. All right, so the call-in number is 855-475-1776. That's a pretty rad call-in number, I will say. Pretty cool. All right.
Call now. Call now and get answers to any question. Call now.
Constant communication with their affordable, transportable cellular telephone. Hello? Oh, yes, he's right here. It's for you.
Yes? Now everyone can enjoy the freedom of a personal cellular phone. You can make a call anywhere or get a call anytime. Hi.
Stuck in traffic? Call and change that meeting before you're late. Yeah, John, let's change the meeting to 10.
And get answers to any question. Call now.
You want to talk some Call me. Start some Sup, fool?
Okay, so that's the call-in number. I'm going to go ahead and get this set up here while some of you guys are starting to go ahead and call in. Once again, that's 855-475-1776. oftentimes we get a lot of callers on here, so get on while you can. I try to get to just about everyone that calls in. So, all right, so that's 855-475-1776. I want your guys' take on some of the subjects we talked about today, or if you have anything other, you know, anything else of interest that you'd like to bring up. All right, so that's the call number. I'm going to go ahead and play this cool little promo video to help encourage everyone to go to Twitch, where it is much better. And while everyone's jumping onto my Twitch feed to watch, you can watch for free as well, so never fret. And you can participate in the call-in portion. You just have to go to twitch.tv. Millennial Millie is my channel. You can find me on there. So there you go. Meet me at Twitch, Millennial Millie.
Hold it. Wait. He's right. That was in front of us the whole time.
General West, Jackson has identified the 7th symbol.
Go ahead.
Programming 7th symbol into computer. This is as far as we have ever been able to get.
He's looking at you, kid. It's amazing, Molly. See ya. See ya.
I'm going to ask you a weird question.
All right, guys. I hope you enjoyed the video. I encourage you all to go over to Twitch now. It's really simple, guys. You can watch live for free while I'm live, so you don't have to sign up for a subscription. Go over to Twitch, because that's where I'm going to be doing the caller portion of the show, Millennial Millie, on Twitch. That's twitch.tv, TWITCH.TV. Go ahead on and head over there. I've already got some callers in the queue. This should be fun and interesting. I'm going to do about an hour of callers. So head on over and get your voice out there, and people are going to be coming on and joining us from Facebook, Periscope, and YouTube on Twitch. So this should be fun. It'll be like a blending and a melting of people that we haven't necessarily seen or heard in the chats from different communities. So from different platforms, a blending and a melting. Let's see how this goes. All right, guys. So goodbye, YouTube. It has been great. Head on over to Twitch. Thank you.